So my name is Gail Caduff and I am the program leader for the BSc in Counselling and Psychotherapy with PCI College. And I am delighted to introduce to you today Zaini Shah, who is a recent graduate of PCI and is also the winner of the Lee McCarthy Scholarship in 2016. So you're very welcome, Zaini, and I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to chat to you today about your experience as a PCI student and maybe a little bit about your plans for the future. So maybe we could start by you telling me a little bit about yourself and how you initially became interested in pursuing a career in counselling and psychotherapy.
Thank you, Gail. I'm originally from Zimbabwe, and I came to live in Ireland in 2003. A few years ago, I started working as a receptionist at a center after doing a course in business studies and secretarial. It was a 3-year contract on a community employment scheme. And near the end of the contract, I needed to decide what I was going to do next. And because I worked in the community sector, I was really interested in that type of work because we were dealing with all sorts of problems as well as programs that was running, and counseling was one of the services available for the community. And I enjoyed it, working there and interacting in that way. And I wanted to do more in the field. It sparked also a childhood desire that I had to become a counselor many years ago, and didn't think I would actually start that process. But then I looked up for what can I do next, including going back to training or any other development or what was in the field of work related. And I came across PCI certificate course. And with the support of the center and a few, and my kids, of course, I enlisted and I did the year at PCI, the certificate course. And that's how the ball started rolling, I suppose, for me.
Wow, so your dreams of becoming a counsellor go back quite a long time.
It did. And it was it was a dream I never thought was going to be fulfilled. I phrased it unrequited love. It's kind of one of those kind of dreams that I wish I was and going to be. But life's challenges and choices sweeps you along.
And what sort of initially piqued your interest, though? You said that, it was a childhood sort of dream of yours.
Well, what piqued me, I suppose, I always envisioned myself as either a doctor or a nurse. I used to play these games when I was a child anyway. I've always nursing somebody to help. That was just my understanding. And I always were interested that there was a cause to the ailment, like you did something and then you got hurt. Sometimes it was an accident, but it always interested me. And then as I got older, as a teenager, I was interested in these magazines, like most teenagers are really, And I started reading the Agony Aunt columns, and I was so enthralled in how people behave and why these problems, and the mind always fascinated me.
Yeah.
And so I think that sparked my interest really in the field, and I just felt that this was my destiny at some point.
Yeah, but you said though that you faced some challenges and that maybe in some way you had maybe given up hope of ever realizing those dreams. Would you talk a little bit about the challenges that you faced?
I think we all have family problems, and there is in the scheme of things, there's certain choices that one has, and then there's a cultural aspect to your environment that you're living in, and then there is the challenges of the environment itself, political or any otherwise inclined, and all of these factors influence my life. My parents had to leave Zimbabwe, lived in South Africa, go back to Zimbabwe. So I was constantly up and down during my young years. So that was part of the challenges in growing in an environment that was constantly in conflict and changes. I developed a unique sense, I suppose, of seeing the world in a different perspective altogether. And I wanted to make life according to me. And of course, that meant going against traditional ways of living. And that's what I did. So some of the challenges were leaving behind family and friends and going on my own and making all sorts of mistakes.
It sounds like though you were very courageous and you had something that drove you forward, you know, to realize your dreams. I'm wondering how you felt when you came across the Lee McCarthy Scholarship, which is a scholarship that PCI has every year for one person to come on to our degree program and complete the 4-year course. So you applied for that in 2016. What was that like for you when you saw, oh gosh, maybe I have a chance here?
Beyond my wildest dreams, I suppose I could really phrase it. It was just by chance that I saw the promotion at the end of the certificate year. And I thought, you know what do I have to lose? You know, this is the opportunity where I could change my direction in life and actually achieve the one thing I thought I lost in a dream, you know, and see myself through, just to see how far can I get? What did I stand to lose? You know, I had everything to gain, I felt. And so I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw this, because I searched during the certificate course, I kind of did some research to see how long it will take, how much it will cost. And being a single parent, I just couldn't see myself doing that. It wasn't the kind of commitment I could make at the time. And I thought this is the wildest dream come true. So I was so grateful for the opportunity of the scholarship. That the scholarship
you sent us a lovely letter of gratitude where you expressed how you know, how important winning the scholarship was to you in achieving your life goals. And I suppose what caught our attention was the use of that word gratitude, because, you know, as you probably know, there's a huge amount of research now that links having a sense of gratitude with motivation and energy and kind of satisfaction in life. Was that, you know, sense of gratitude something that you always carried within you, or was it something that you kind of cultivated as you were you know, progressing through the degree?
I think it was half and half. There was a dual process. There was some gratitude I've learned through life's experiences, with the ups and the downs life has, you know. And on the up, I would always reflect on the down, and it's without the negative, I couldn't feel the positive. So I had a sense of gratitude because I also would term it as lucky. But the course actually opened that field up for me altogether. I mean, I've learned things about myself and about my mind and the thoughts and my behavior that I wouldn't have necessarily done. And I feel so much stronger for it. So that sense of gratitude was just amplified really during the course, opening up all the possibilities there and the learning that I've done during the time. I feel absolutely grateful and privileged to be sitting here at the end of my course.
Yeah, it's such an achievement, and congratulations and well done on that. In your letters, Amy, also you mentioned that it was difficult sometimes to find a balance between the coursework and obviously your family life, all the commitments and the obligations that brings. And I think that's actually something the majority of our students are concerned, or they struggle with. You know, they how do you get that balance right, the demands of a course against obviously all the other demands of life. How did you personally find the strength to kind of continue and to get it done, because you know there's a lot in it, isn't there? There's a lot in this course.
There certainly is. I suppose on reflection, I felt that the college itself gave a structure, a framework per se, to that possibility of finding the right support to get through it. And I never felt that I was not supported. Any query I felt I had, I could take it up with the college and I would get virtually immediately response to it. I also found that my core tutors were pivotal to this expansion and support that I got. Well, not just the core teachers, of course, it was also all of the tutors that was there. They are exceptional people that were sharing their experiences and their difficulties in the understanding of the learning that I did, as well as life's challenges of being there, being committed, and life still happens anyway. And they supported us, well, supported me from the beginning. And if there was any difficulties I had, they were always there for me to go to. And I found that most helpful. Yeah. And I'm not also letting out that the colleagues that I made, the colleagues in the class, you know, the other students that we had, we were supporting each other all the time. There was constant dialogue and reframing of things and understanding and getting to know, not just in the room, but outside of the room as well, which was very important to the learning and support system that there was. Yeah. You know, it's unique in that way, and I was so grateful.
Yeah, so the experiential learning is as important as the theoretical learning.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
One of, I guess, the biggest, I won't say complaints, but challenges is probably a better word, that a lot of our students have, particularly students who maybe are a long time out of mainstream education, is writing essays and writing academically. And that's something that can be difficult to get your head around. How did you find that? And have you any tips that maybe you could offer to our current students, and maybe even particularly to our new students who are starting with us in September?
I find that there's a lot of support system from PCI to help you along on that aspect of understanding what academically writing is about, and references as well. I think the supports are there, just not just on video, but you know, accessible on files as well. The tutors there as well will always give the support about that. Of course, it's scary and it's new, and it was new to me too. You know, I felt I could expose myself and be willing to learn. I've also challenged myself to read academic work more for me to understand in my own way what is required of me. So I did a lot of other background research as well. And that's also discussing with colleagues that was doing the same thing on what it was required of me. I don't think the task is as daunting as we say it is. I think that's just a concept we have, because it's just another obstacle we're putting in front of ourselves and say, oh, well, I can't do this, I'm not good enough. That is there, that's part of fear, and I think resistance is supposed to be part of the process. You know, get through it.
Yes, so it's not supposed to necessarily be easy, and it certainly requires a degree of commitment. And it sounds like that you are the type of person that is quite proactive. You don't sit and wait for it to come to you. You seek it out, and you use what's available. You know, you do your reading and your research and so on, and that has probably made it a little easier for you, I would imagine.
Yeah, I suppose in a way there is, in fact, there's a lot of truth in that. I find that with the challenges of life that brought me this far, I always had to persevere the resistance that takes place. And then figure out what it is I really want, and then just go for it and see how far you get.
You mentioned also in your letter that your own daughter was inspired to go on and complete her own degree. So what advice then would you give to somebody maybe who is interested in pursuing a career as a psychotherapist, but maybe something is holding them back, you know?
Well, I'm a firm believer of going for what you really believe you want. If you have the right motivation for it, then you should go for it. Um, these There will always be obstacles in life, and it's supposed to be challenging. But the best thing is to be inspired by what you are doing for yourself, because nobody can give it to you. Only you can give that to yourself.
Yeah.
And to work in the field that you really want to work and enjoy. I suppose my daughter just learned from me that if you go for what you believe in is your dream, nothing can stop you if you really want it.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know about advice. I don't think I'm good in that at all, but I'll just
Well,
take it for it.
it is, I suppose, a big undertaking, but it is a vocation as well. You know, you kind of know this is for you, don't you? You certainly wouldn't take it on unless you felt kind of deep down in your heart that it was the right thing for you.
I think that is very important. This is not a career change per se. This is truly a vocation.
Yeah.
I gain more personal satisfaction than I do anything else. And for me, that is the biggest achievement in my life, is to find something that gives me joy. This gives me joy.
Yeah.
Being part of this process gives me joy. So,
Yes, so you recently graduated with your honours degree, but you've been practicing practicing as a counsellor since you achieved your diploma last year. So now that you have, you know, a bit of experience as a therapist, what do you like about the work, and what are the challenges that you've faced?
I enjoy the work simply because the feedback that I get in the room with the client, for me, is reward in itself. I learned so much from the client. There is, I'm constantly feeling like the student, and the development between us in the room is unique, and it's not a one-way system, it's a two-way system. I find that most rewarding. There's a lot of reflection that takes place prior and after seeing a client, and a lot of support as well in terms of supervision that I have. And I find that I learn so much about me and about life because of it. So I suppose that is the reward, and doing what I love to do. The challenges, I suppose, is there's always a financial aspect to the work, and we try not to make it about finances, but at the end of the day, we need to have a living as well. To be able to strike the balance between living and vocation, I think will often be, something that fluctuates.
Yeah, that is always a challenge, of course. But I suppose in more recent times, there are more people maybe seeking out support and help, and are less maybe, concerned about what that might look like. You know, people are much more open, and I even find myself that, GPs, for example, are much quicker now to send somebody to see a therapist and to engage in counselling as a first sort of pain, rather than maybe medication, or even maybe them both working hand in hand. So there are certainly career opportunities in this profession that may not have existed maybe 5-10 years ago.
Correct. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a change. There is a fluctuation, a change in the system. Yeah, I look forward to it. I mean, I'm working towards it, so
yeah,
I'll keep at it.
Yeah, well, we have a new winner for obviously this year's Lee McCarthy Scholarship. Somebody like you who started doing the certificate, and interestingly enough, also a student in Kilkenny. So, would you have any tips for her and all of the students who are starting their degree in September?
I don't know about advice. I'm not one keen on advice, but I can say what worked for me was opening up myself to the experience. I
Mm.
mean, truly opening myself up to it, taking in all literature that was available, understand it from the different modalities, trying to find my understanding and find what I deemed as what was more important to me, and my process and how I wanted to see myself as a therapist. Um, you know, so I suppose just to trust the instincts and to go for it.
Yeah.
It's certainly worth the effort. It's absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't tell them. I'll just say go for it, and whatever obstacle is in your way, find a way around it and over it.
Go for it. Yeah, that's a good maybe, you know, selling point. Go for it. Just before I let you go, I suppose I'm just wondering whether you have any specific plans for your future. You know, are you considering maybe specializing in it? Are you interested in working in a particular area now that you've completed your degree?
Well, I've always said I wanted to do. I wanted to work in the field with cultural awareness and integration. Um, it's always something I want to do, maybe because I experienced that firsthand. I particularly like the idea of family
Mm.
and groups. I find it powerful. The healing is yeah, it's well rounded in my opinion, because the individual don't come in as a separate unity. It comes with its environment, and so you have to consider all of those factors. So in the future, I'm hoping, if I'm lucky, I'll win another scholarship for the masters.
Hope springs eternal.
Oh, but I'm definitely intend to do my masters, and perhaps in family therapy would be the start.
Mm,
Cultural awareness is an agenda for me, but
mm.
it's something that I am working towards experiencing first, before delving into it and specialize in a particular field.
Yeah,
I
so
prefer,
get a bit of practice in and kind of become
yes,
familiar with the work first.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
I find that I don't want to say I want to specialize in a field. I think diversity is important,
Hmm.
to be able to be flexible to the person who's coming in and not cater for specific people. I find that I wouldn't like to do that personally, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand. Well, look at we're very, very happy to have had you with us for those 4 years, and you're certainly a wonderful advocate for PCI, and I have absolutely no doubts that you will go on to bigger and better things, and I certainly would look forward to you touching base with you again and to see how you're getting on, and hopefully, you know, when you have had a little bit of time practicing and honing your skills. And you might come back to us to do one of our master's programs. It would be lovely to have you back.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And
No,
once again, I can't thank the Liam McCarthy Scholarship for the help that they've given me. Thank you so much, PCI.
thank, thank you, Zane. Thank you.
Thanks, Gail.